it's just marinating. It's not doing anything. And you'll have periods in the market. I would say a lot of times people get really frustrated. But what people don't realize is the market, you'll have periods in the market. I would say the market only trends for periods of the year. Markets trend for like a month or two, and then they go sideways for months. Then they trend for a month, and they go sideways and chop around for a month, and they go down a little bit, so on and so forth. So, we're in that kind of period of upthrust right now, and it's usually towards the end of it that like you start to get all this like kind of speculative fever. And so we're starting to see, I think, some of the good stuff. We want to see this, right? Like this is the good stuff. So I think that this is really positive. Let's see what the heck else is going on here. Boom, 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 boom. Hold on here. Let's get this shit out. Yeah. All right, look at this. We got even a buyout in IMGN. So there's all sorts of little speculative doo-ha going on here. Hold on, I got locked out of my email. What's every time you switch computers, man, they start making log in all the shit. There we go, baby. All right, cool. Now, first thing we want to do, let's take a look at the indexes here. Hey, we had a weird fall in the market today, and I think that's something we got to keep in mind of, that we had a little bit of a failed flag pattern. Today's going to be important. Like, do we fade off here and go green to red, or do we do something, or do we just kind of continue on? And yesterday was a one-off thing. There was something that happened yesterday, which was old Bob Barker, whatever his name is, right? The Fed speaker came in and he really took a shit on the market. As soon as he started talking, like things started like we gapped up and we were hanging out, minding our own business. We were just in church, minding our own business, doing the Lord's work. Next thing you know, right, he laid the Blumkin on, and then we had a little bit of a bounce and then double Blumkin. And that put a lot of reversal candles into stocks. And so that's something we have to keep mind of today, which is like if you see some of this stuff, see like these are nasty, right? It doesn't mean that the trend is over. It really doesn't mean anything, but it does give you a level of supply that's going to be on top of these names, right? So if you see like all these wicks, like that's a no buenos, right? So we saw all these wicks on some of these names, and we have to be a little bit careful today. Like we have, right, $8 rollover in Tesla. And this was happening right across the board. Baidu took a big shit. So like a lot of the kind of runners you got these nasty little candles on them. And so we'll have to be somewhat careful on that. But there was still a lot of good heat. You can still see like some of the stocks held up, right? Affirm held up, Coin held up, Roku held up. Right. And so we do got a lot of this kind of stuff too, where, some stocks rolled over, some are holding up. We'll see what happens today at the open. The open's going to be the tell. Like, do we just kind of roll red and kind of start testing down into these levels, or do we have some more? So I want you to watch the 9 EMA today. That's 388. That coincides right with the price support here on a shorter term time frame. When you're looking at your indexes, like if you keep up like a graph of your indexes, like somewhere in the corner on one of your monitors, look at it on a little bit more of a longer term time frame, or at least mark out the levels, because that way you don't have to be so in tune with that, like every second of fluctuation in the QQQs like you would in the bear market. In a bull market, the minute by minute stuff doesn't really matter as much. Like you'd be surprised, like, it's more dependent on kind of the overall structure of the day, where like when the market's choppy or bear market, it's like the market ticks up a second, all the stocks go up, market ticks down a second, all the stocks go down, market ticks up a second, all the stocks go up, market ticks down. And you're just stuck in this kind of spin cycle where you're like watching the cues, you've got your stocks, and you're just like, right? Like a windshield wiper. By the end of the day, you don't even know who you are anymore. This is a little bit different. We are now officially in a market of stocks, instead of just like 2 or 3 that are hanging out. So let's go and see what kind of gappers we have. I don't anticipate there's going to be like a monster amount of them due to the earnings season being done, but we are having a considerable good reactions to PRs of late. You guys probably saw, right? Yesterday, the VVOS, this was, fuck, I was trying to fuck around with this thing over here, and it got halted, and I took it off the table. I hate when they start getting halted, and then hot damn, right? You go 11 to 20. 11 to 20 is pretty good, but then the $20 break was actually, that's right. That's like a classic setup. And I will say, like, 9 out of 10 times probably that setup fucking fails. You can even see right here, like you got kind of shooken out a little bit here. People are probably getting shaken out. It tightened up a little bit, then it popped, halt, pop, 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 halt. But that's the symbol of what's happening now. Whoever bought up here and held probably is not feeling good about themselves right now. But we want to see this kind of action, guys. We need to see this kind of action. This is good stuff. Let's go into the gappers, and then we're going to come back and dig into some of the large caps and stuff like that. Fucking eye, my fucking eye. All right, let's do it. Hold on. Where I come from, here's what I tell everyone. Let's go. All right, MINM. Dude, after yesterday's move in the fucking VVOS, like you're gonna start to see some of this. Now look, common sense says, like, what kind of human are you, right? Are you really gonna chase up a 600% gapper? Like that's rough, right? Yeah, you can go scalpy McGee's and stuff like that, but like the odds of chasing up 600% gapper and living to tell the story is very, very small. So just got to be mindful. Like this is like VVOS yesterday was a little bit different, right? Like it did gap up quite a bit, but then it tightened up for like an hour and then took off, tightened up for an hour, so on and so forth. So by the end of the day, if you see, like it ended up 800%, but it was by the end of the day, it was up 800%, right? It wasn't right off the gate. So that's just something to kind of just keep in the back of your head too. All right, let's go back to this. So MNIN. 600%, you're going to have to probably leave that alone unless it had a big base or something like that. Maybe pulled back, crashed, and then base, something along that end. Hey, this IMG, and I'm just glossing over it because it's a buyout. Ampy. All right, old Ampy here. What are you going to do with this thing? Seriously, see all these wicks? When you get wicks like that, like you're really... That's like, I don't know. That's going to be a tough one, I think. What do you think? To be free. Yeah, let's get rid of that one. All right. Sorry, I'm closing all these layouts from boot camp class. All right, cool. Let's leave that one alone. ADTX, this one gapped up. Look at, so this is what's happening after all, right off for all VVOS. People in the pre-market are popping these things up. Why do they do it in the pre-market? Because it's the easiest time to pump, right? If they're going to pump, you want to pump when there's not that much volume. So pumpers are coming out and now they're getting faded off big time. Look at this VFS, though. This is a good God-fearing Christian setup right here. Did. This is probably going to get a little loose today because this is right. This is like the Nepalese Tesla or Bhutanese Tesla. You got a big base breakout over here. My worry is that it's up a few days in a row. You know, we probably should have swung this around here. That would have been a little bit of an easier setup, but it's going to move around a lot. Now, my worry is that it was at 11. It's already peaked out. Sometimes when they do that, like the best gappers are going to be like, okay, they may peak out, but then they pull back like pretty orderly. They don't come in all of a sudden just like, crashing, if that makes any sense. For America, people, for America. God damn right. Let's add it. Add the old BFS. And we'll clear out yesterday's watch list too in a sec. CRM. Look at this. You got a big breakout on this. Got a pretty big base. It's about 2-year breakout, 1.5-year breakout. Thick stock, right? Multi-billion share float, 950 million shares. But this type of setup has been working. Look at NTAP yesterday, right? You got this big kind of breakout over here, right? Crowd had earnings out yesterday. Now, this one's a much lower float, so you can have like these crazy runs because the float's a lot lower. See the ORB on this bad boy? Look at this thing. W-Day. Like, that's what you really want to see. So you got the gapper, right, on the earnings. Pull back into the 9. Man, that's 18 points right there, folks. That's 18 points. So the setup is working. Even on large ones, small ones, a lot of times people are just using the small ones. But the large ones can do it too. Is you can just trade the options on it. You can do all sorts of goodies on it. That's hot. I wouldn't, put that past a day 2. Yeah, these earnings plays are cooking. So like I want to be part of these things. So let's go back into this CRM here for a second. This one's a lot thicker, right? So you're going to need probably a pull. Look at the float on this versus W-Day. Same setup, right? 115 million, $62 billion company. So it's a big company, right? CRM, 100 million, right? Big company, big mama jama. Is. Let's add this, but I think this will be we'll have some caveats in terms of how we're playing it. Let's add it for now. All right, let's add this. Dude, the one that I think we should get jiggy about is this snow. Hey, by the way, this lobby looks okay, but too small. Snow. It is stalling off at resistance so far. You can see here in the pre-market, it's tested out the resistance, fading off a little bit. That doesn't mean, though, like it's done or anything like that. Ooh. Adjust price target to 215 from 195. Right, you got all sorts of goodies out here. Looks nice. What do you think? It may need to marinate a little bit and take out this kind of pre-market high or start to like show an ORB near the pre-market high. But I think you got yourself a little something. Good. I like it. Add it. BMEA. This was another little small cap. there's a theme going here, whether you like it or not, you know, there's a theme going here. And this has been going on actually for like a good month or two, right? Which is like these little guys are getting pushed around. You know, you were talking like the sub $1 billion companies. These little guys are getting pushed around and they are following through for a portion of the day. You could trade them. You know, don't be mindful. You know, I'm the old guy. This is not in my backyard, right? But the rest of you guys, you can trade this stuff. Look at this old big. Yeah, old Big Lots here starting to kind of push through. I believe the earnings are already out. See this? The gap on this thing? So I believe the earnings are already out. This is the kind of setup that I'm kind of interested in, even though it's a little bit of a smaller company. It's not necessarily like a pump and dump company, right? Like it's Big Lots. Like all Indian people will go to Big Lots. You know, you go to Big Lots. You want to know where the Indian people are? We're very simple people. You want to know where the Indian people are? We're at Taco Bell. We're at Big Lots, right? We're hanging out at gas stations because we own those gas stations. But this is where we're simple people. Big Lots, Taco Bell, bam. We roll up in our Honda Civics, gold package to Big Lots, and we go hard. This is a hot little setup here. Let's add it. Me gustas. That means I like in Spanish. Those of you that don't read so good. Iran, man, too many days in a row. Yo, what was up with the QS yesterday? Anybody see this thing? Yeah, that wasn't so bad. It's just the intraday range on it stinks. Old Hood's pushing. You got up 3%. And these are just all these small caps are going to push them because the IWM is. Look at old Snapchat here, too. It's a grinder. Only was 30 cents a day. But you know what? You stack 10 days at 30 cents. Also, you got some cheddars, right? That's cheese. Now, check this out. This is DPST. Actually, I really like the look of this. This is a flag pattern on the banks, on the regional banks, right? So you got a push, a pullback, a little bit more of a swing setup. But when IWM goes, it's usually because these banks are going, right? That they make up a good chunk of the IWM. So you can see here, CRE is the underlying ETF. And you've got yourself a nice breakout over here. This is a buenos. This is a muchos buenos. Yeah, it's a buenos, and it's got an okay range on it for the most part. You can do DPST, which is just a 3x ETF on it, and you got yourself a little bit of a range break here. Not my exact flavor, but let's take a look at some individual stocks that kind of make up this bank sector that maybe we can be a part of. Right? You had a nice push in balls to the walls. Nice tight range. So I think Birdman was asked about this last week. This is a common thing, you know, like right before breakout, by the way. You know, you'd be hanging out over your EMA and you'll kind of like just like have like very, very tight red days where you just move up or down like 10 cents, 20 cents. And you'll have these like kind of see narrow range candles. The narrow range candle, by the way, you can just write this down because it's like one of those nuances you can't really put in the trading books or in the class. You know, oftentimes before the breakouts, especially in these kind of stocks, so you see like this tight, narrow range day where a stock will just open, it'll be up or down like a couple pennies, 5 cents, 10 cents, 1 cent. And it makes people forget about it. And it just compresses the range. And then boom, like the next day, you just goose right out of it. You see that a lot. You know, there's a specific name for it, but I've noticed this over the years. Like when you get that range break, it compresses to almost nothing the day before, and then you forget about it because you're like, yeah, fuck, like this thing's not moving, and then wham. And also, one of the reasons it can be so effective is that a lot of times when people are running scans, right, you're running like momentum scans, like how much the stock was up the previous day, right? So you have like 4% breakouts, right, all these kind of things. Well, there's no scan in the world that has like, hey, stock was up or down like plus 2 pennies, right? And so you often it just won't show up on anybody's scan. So it's like you got to scan from like many days before and then keep the watch list kind of thing. And then they start pushing through. Just keep that in the back of your notes. You'll see this often. See this like dojis right here? It's like stock was up probably 1 penny that day or down 1 penny that day. Look at the difference between the open and the close, right? Pretty cool. So then you get like these kind of small range days and then they kind of push out. This Schwab is nice though. Like you can do day 2 plays on this. This had good range yesterday, $4. Damn. You can roll with these. Yeah, I wouldn't be opposed. I'll keep one bank on the list just in case. I think Schwab's probably got more liquidity. Yeah, I'll keep one bank on the list for a hot second. Man, I really like this flat top breakout. I got this on a longer term list when it pulls back. It's gonna have it's gonna need to do a little bit of work here. But once that work is done, it's gonna be a buenos. Cuckoo. Yeah, this is nice, real nice. You see here, put this on watch. If it just taps back, I'd set an alert like 1950. It needed to pull. That's the if you see the volume accumulation and just the level of breakout here, test, right? That's your quintessential flat top breakout. When that thing pulls, it'll be hot, but it needs a lot more work. Kubo, junk. This thing's hard to trade. All right, let's see on the downside what we got. Now I'm going to narrow down the list for you. We're going to come up with the most beautimous. Hey, look, the SSR is going to trigger on this. It's down 40%. Maybe it gets picked up at the open, but look, the volume, this is what they do, man. This thing's got 50 million shares in volume, right? You trap a bunch of people. Dude, you own it at 300,000 shares in volume, you can't even get out of the thing, right? That's the epitome of the pump and then the dump. It's a beautiful thing as long as you're not in it, because it's more fun to just make fun of the people that are in it. Comprendes? All right. Yeah, nothing hot yet. Pro, Junk. See this ASL, but this a retail stock. Now this I could get behind. Old Coupang. Yeah, this thing is not even participated in the market yet. We need a short. That's probably more up our style. What's up with Octane? Anybody see anything on this? Hold on here. Let me look it up. That's a downgrade. It's probably, I'm not sure. It's still stuck in range. Look at Billy's been tossing off too. All right. Well, let's kind of narrow some things down here. All right. So we put a lot of random stocks on. So we got VFS Snow, big. This INVT was more of a swing stock. It's kind of done now. Yeah, it's a swing setter for the most part. Junk. Now this I think is got potential, but it had the weird reversal candle too. Not enough volume, right? So I'm gonna take that off. Hey, GME had a big push yesterday, like 2 days in a row. Look, this thing is gonna roll back over and probably back at 11, 12. It's just a matter of when. I think I take a pass. What do you think? Yeah, see some of these like you. I think this one looks really nice too, but you got these weird candles on them. I think we can narrow down our list a little bit today. All right, look at that. All right, getting a little bit extended. So this is something to keep on a longer list, but it needs to chill out now. Right, we're getting into that frothy kind of territory. Now, PDD is a very nice earnings breakout here. See, you get this gap and push, but it's up too many days in a row. So you got to kind of take some of these up. We got W for day 2. We want to really focus in on names that just started to move. Now, this is probably top of the list here. All right. So if the market rolls over today, even if it's just a mini rollover, I'd be hard pressed to see it like it's going to be a big rollover. But if the market has like a mini rollover today, maybe it comes down into these zones, then I want to take down 2 stocks, right? I want to take down this Affirm. You went from 25 to 35, right? So 10 points on 26 in a few days. It's a $10 billion company. It's, it probably needs a spike back up here and then fizzle out. You cannot short into the hole in a bull market. What I mean by short into the hole is our normal style, right? What your normal style of setup would be is like, okay, you get a gap down or spike down, right? And then, you look for sideways consolidation and you ORB it, right? That's your quintessential, right, shorting setup, right? Just spike down, ORB. In a hot market, oftentimes, like when you spike down, you may not even get a chance at the ORB. They just start to push back up. So if you end up shorting in the hole early, what ends up happening is you get squeezed. And then when you end up getting squeezed, then the rug pulls. And it'll do that very, very often. And it's just like a shift in mindset, but it can catch people off guard when the market shifts and you're used to shorting. Because we were shorting for so long. And now the last few weeks, right, we haven't been able to. But for so long, we've been shorting. And that's the setup that had been working. But if you do it now, it won't. I'll give you a prime time example, right? Coin yesterday, thought it was a rubber band short yesterday, right? And anytime it spiked low and then go sideways, right, you'd get like this kind of squeeze out of nowhere. And there were big ones. Like you can see here, it's like kind of like it rolls over, sitting at 126, and boom, like this is a lot of money you can lose. It's at 130 in a couple candles, and you're like, oh shit. And then it breaks the previous day's high, it breaks the ORB spot, sucks everybody in, and then dumps off, right? And then you're like, oh shit, this is it. And then it's kind of marinating here, and then boom, right? It takes off. And so now you're thinking, oh, maybe it's a long. No, right? The daily chart says short, so you can't long it, but it's very hard short too. So then it starts to go, and you're like, and then boom, right? It rugs off, and then it doesn't do anything after, right? So point is the same thing. I have this on watch for a short. This is a little bit of what we call reversal candle here, but the big hairy Indian butt is that if you short it into the hole, it's going to be really, really tricky. So you always got to think of like just market conditions. Shorting into the hole is not a big deal. We do it all the time. But you want to do it when the market, like when the 9 EMA is pointing down and you have a lot of volatility, right? The VIX is up, you got a lot of volatility. Then like you can short into the hole and it doesn't matter. Because if a stock has, say, a $5 ATR and it opens down $1, you still have $4 of room, right? And that's the structural difference, like when in market cycles, that you just have to be aware. So when the market's doing this, or when the market's doing this, then you get short into the hole and it works very well. You can chase down a little bit, just like on breakouts right now, right? Do a little bit of chasing sometimes. So we don't want to, right? But sometimes you can do a little bit of chasing when the market gets hot. And that's the truth on the opposite side when the market's on hot. So we'll be mindful today. I do like this coin. I can't chase it down 1.5%. We'll let it squeeze up a little bit, and then we'll see what's up. You still got room down to your 9 EMA here. So Yeah, I think those are kind of the two things I want to, right? Affirm, coin. We don't got to be like too crazy with, we don't got to be too crazy with what, we have on the watch list. We can narrow it down today a little bit. Tesla has Cybertruck event. What time is that at? Does anybody know? I think it starts at 1, maybe noon. I had the fucking link I posted in chat room yesterday. Let me find it. Anybody got that thing? Hey, whenever they have these events, remember Meta? We fucking raped that thing. So Meta, when they had their AI day, right? They squeezed up a little bit in the AI day, and then the AI, then we get short right as it starts. I usually use the puts. As soon as that AI conference started, it was bam, $15 candle. We have the puts. The puts are up 300, 400% in a handful of minutes. Same kind of setup. We did the same thing with AMD AI conference, when AI had its AI conference, right? It's just a sell the news event. And most likely this, dude, there's nothing that scares more chicks than probably that Tesla truck, right? Even Samka's face probably doesn't scare as many chicks as what this cyber truck is going to do, right? Fucking thing. That thing's so ugly, I may have to buy one. The moral of the story, if we get a push, I don't know where, right? But we get a push, we'll start marinating it. Once that event starts, probably do, 20 contracts, 30 contracts, whatever, right? Just something small. And then we'll see if we get it, right? We can do the shares too. There'll be enough volatility on the thing. So we'll see what's going on. But you know what it's gonna look like. It's gonna look like a big tin box, right? We already seen it. All right, so Tesla, Affirm, coin, on watch for short. Let's just take a look at some of these other ones here. On the long side, out of these large caps, they've been kind of bleeding off, but I think Meta is actually getting back down into some support here. So like I think some of these, it may actually be ready for, probably some scalps if we kind of come back down into these areas here. I've already marked out a couple here. I think we kind of touch down into some of these spots. We may get a little bit of a long, but you can see it's like just lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high at the moment. NVIDIA has been in a very, very narrow range for the last 5 days. Guys, narrow ranges lead to explosive moves, right? I don't know which way this fucking thing's going to go, right? But narrow range, especially when you have something that's got so used to big ranges, when you get the tightness of candles like this, that's going to lead to something usually that can be a lot of fun. So let's keep an eye on this NVIDIA. Obviously I love shorting. So, my heart says short, but we don't really know, right? I mean, this is still a bullish chart for the most part. It's just popped on the earnings down here. Now we're kind of marinating. Is this bear flag? Is it a rounding pattern? Nobody fucking knows, right? A lot of this is just going to be dependent on the market and the overall structure of the market today. What happens? It's been getting sold off on spikes, but that may not mean too much. We're still in a box. There's nothing worse than being inside that box. It's like being in the back seat of your buddy's Volkswagen Beetle in the middle, right? That's the penis in between us. There's nothing worse, right? I'm 6'2". Like, I know. I don't like being in the back seat of a Volkswagen. It's no fun. That's the only good thing about rednecks, man. They got big trucks and big SUVs. Why they have them, you're not hauling lumber, but it is a nice, comfy thing, right? What's up with white people, man? Why you guys got trucks that are so big? So unless you're hauling lumber, like you don't need a truck that big. And then they got like massage chairs and shit in them. White people, man, you guys are rowdy. There's a reason you guys conquered the world. That shit is wild. Yeah, a huge monster truck, but then they got massage seats in them. Never understood that. And I want to see you hauling lumber. Like, I better see a toolbox in that thing, right? I want to see some screwdrivers or whatever it is that people use. Moral of the story, 476. We'll come in on NVIDIA if it breaks, but we don't really know just yet. Microsoft's also on a little bit of a mini cliff here. You can see it's kind of turning off. I want to look, this thing was 320 bucks, right? You finally had a little bit of a reversal candle starting to kind of like it's there. It just needs a little bit of a push, right? Old Barker gave us a little push yesterday. Let's see how it reacts around yesterday's lows. If we need a short, I've been waiting to short this fucking pig forever. So we'll do it. We'll do it. All right. Now some day two plays. Crowd had earnings out. We could try this for a day two play if it starts to pull back. It's a little bit extended, but whatever. I like that bad boy. You got Net that had a big breakout. So we got a couple of these bad boys that are holding up. But I won't do that. But favorites, Coin, Affirm, Snow. We'll see if we'll see if the small cap nation holds up. I won't trade VFS. And a day two play on W. Man, my watch list looks too long. All right. And Tesla, of course. So we got Snow, Coin, Affair. Let's move to the 6 windows layouts here. All right, so on one of them, I got AMD Meta, Roblox, which I think is a really nice daily chart, and it's not too extended. We got Microsoft Net. Main layout. We got Coin, Tesla, QQQ, Snow, NVIDIA, WD, not WD, Affair. All right. This is our list, peoples. This is our list. I'm sticking to it. That's my list. I'm sticking to it. All right, let's do the Lord's work today, people. We're doing the Lord's work in the devil's playground, as they say. As the good Reverend Jeffries always said, doing the Lord's work in the devil's playground here in the United States stock market. Yeah, reduce the size of your list today. You know, they've been getting frothy. They've been getting big. They've been getting jiggy. But I think it's time to kind of reduce the list a little bit for a day or two. One thing to keep an eye on, IWM is still, still under that 200-day moving average. We're going to need to see that thing also probably pull back a little bit. But if it rips over that 200, then it's just all systems is a go. So just kind of keep that in the back of your mind too. Anybody got anything they want to look at? Is there anything that's out there making you sad? Oh, hey Kumar. Yeah, I adjusted it because the market's been so hot. There's been too many stocks on the Gapper list. So I adjusted it to 50,000 and prices to go over 3 because there's been a lot of small caps going too. All right. Fucking A, man. Fucking A. Hey, man, as they say in France, 2 beers in a bucket? Bucket. Let's do this, peoples. Let's do this. Yo, as it's been for everybody, the last week or two has been super hot. Let's not get carried away here. Well, typically, look, this is what happens with people, right? When the market gets a little bit frothy, you make money, but you never make as much money as you think you're going to make, right? Because you look back and you see all these runners and you're like, damn, like I should have made a lot more money, right? And that's very natural. I've been just saying that every day, like, oh, I sold W early. Oh, I sold this one early, right? And so you're saying that nonstop. And so now you're in this like, I sold this thing early. I sold this thing early. And so you make good money, but you're always thinking like I should have made more money. So then you start to press it a little bit, right? Say, hey, I got to make more money. And what ends up happening is you end up losing all the profits on one day when the market starts to shift a little bit. We don't know if that's today or not, right? But we're starting to see some weakness. We know we need probably a little bit of a pullback, right? The Qs are dumping a little bit. You know, that thing is always around the corner. All right, let's do this, Paples. I'll be in the boom boom room.